Hi folks, and welcome to From Amateur to Expert, where we talk about becoming the top name in your game. I'm going to say something a little strange today. I hope I've caught you at a low point in your life, by which I mean I hope that you are open to and in need of an inspiring message about building your career, your legacy, your life, your business, your brand. And perhaps today is the day that you need to hear this. There are two types of success stories when it comes to icons in any industry. And the first is the one that we tend to hear the most often, the stellar one, the unusual one. And then there are the slow ones that simmer and boil over in the background and ultimately become some of the greatest stories ever told. And I think there's a little bit of a danger in focusing only on the dramatic ones. Today we're going to compare two stories, and one of the best known icons in the world of writing is Stephen King. Many people are familiar with his breakthrough story. It's extremely well detailed in his book on writing. That was a dramatic breakthrough with the first book, which was Carrie. There is a similar and parallel story in the form of Dean Koontz. Now, Dean Koontz does not have a dramatic breakthrough story. I was actually watching a wonderful little documentary on him the other day, and they spoke about how slow his start was and how long it took him to get going. What they did on the screen was they lined up the books that he wrote under a pseudonym. Now, these are books that no one has ever heard of, and that are out of print, and that are not even published under his own name. Now, you might think it might be 2 or 3 trial runs. What they did was they lined up the first row of books across the top of the screen, then the second row of books, then the third row of books, and they just kept going. And it took from the 1960s till the 1980s before the Dean Koontz that we know today even began to manifest. What's interesting about that one is that if you look at certain records of best-selling living writers today, some of them, and they differ slightly, some of them have Dean Koontz ahead of Stephen King in terms of total units sold. And there's a bit of a debate over exact numbers, but it looks like he's sitting at over 500 million books sold to date. And there was nothing spectacular about his start. Many of his books didn't even break even. In other words, the publisher would have sent him an advance, and the book sales didn't even meet the advance. And we're talking about scores of books before he even got to the first breakthrough. So today, when he gets to legitimately call himself one of the best-selling living writers, and a person who has more New York Times and global #1 bestsellers than almost anyone else on the planet, it's encouraging for us to see that it took 2 decades of anonymity before that even began to happen. What set him apart? Over the years, he refined his craft and he built his talent and he became steadily better at what he does. But ultimately, what it comes down to was the sheer volume of production, how hard he worked. Have you had a flop recently? Something that didn't sell as well as you expected? Something that didn't break through on the scale that you were expecting? Have you had a little momentum and then you lost it? Are you standing out on that proverbial highway wondering what's going to become of your life and thinking every time that things start to move a little, suddenly they stop and you wonder if you're ever going to get there? Think of Dean Koontz, one of the best-selling living writers, and 20 years of anonymity, but the numbers built up. And over that time, he was honing his craft, he was becoming more talented, he was learning what worked and what didn't, and ultimately, he became every bit as iconic as Stephen King. Could that be you? Well, the reality is it will not be you if you are discouraged by setbacks. If your first 3 or 4 or 10 instances don't get you to break through to that level of success, will you continue to number 11 and 12 and 13? How long can you keep this up as you build those lessons, build that base, build your subscribers, your readers, your fans, your followers, your customers, whatever that might be for you? Can you keep yourself going as you build up that legacy? The numbers add up over time, and they could add up to something formidable. That is, unless you throw in the towel. Once or twice in a century, you will have an icon who has that magical breakthrough moment. But there are other icons who sometimes go further who have nothing spectacular in their story. It was just hard work maintained over time. Do you have it in you? Folks, if you know someone who needs to hear that message right now, won't you please share it with them? We want their light, their creation, their productivity, and everyone needs a little encouragement from time to time. And if you've gone through a long period of drought and ultimately had a breakthrough, won't you please share your story with us below? It's encouraging to hear about other creators, artists, producers who did stick with it and ultimately broke through. News from my side, the new book with Penguin is out. It's called How to Grow Rich, 50 Ways to Debunk Money Myths and Master Wealth. It's available in bookstores as an ebook, and if you enjoy your Audible books, you can download it from audible.com as well.